role in trying to help him create balance against the mainstream media during this last campaign. It worked for him, and he feels, okay, there's something going on here. This is the democratization of the media space. And so if the internet could help with the democratization of the media space, then we can have a rethink. What he's doing with TikTok is basically what any country will do.
Solomon, please, we understand that J.D. Vance there has arrived at the White House alongside his wife there. They're making their way, they would make their way in now ahead of that inauguration. Okay. J.D. Vance will be the 50th Vice President of the United States. All right, and they're alongside, I think that's Kamala Harris with the first gentleman.
Yeah.
The second gentleman, actually, it's a mix.
With her husband.
Okay, with her husband. Okay, that's better. And of course, the paparazzi over there. Okay, that's for the photo ops, all smiles, soaking it all in. Okay, and then the real work will begin after noon. Yes, we're talking about TikTok and talking about the fact that Donald Trump appears to have made a U-turn on his decision or the squabbles he's had with TikTok in the past. And that makes me curious about, another issue, whether this plan for a delay in implementing the law banning TikTok in the U.S. it's actually in the overwhelming interest of Americans, or simply because he's benefited from it, and if he's okay, let me give back.
Now, the real issue why he had problems with TikTok was because of China. Now, every company that is from China is owned by the Chinese state. Forget that there are Chinese companies in Nigeria spearheaded by individuals. The money behind these Chinese companies are government finances. And so the Communist Party owns most of these things because everything is centrally planned by the Chinese government. But then the Chinese government has a philosophy, and this philosophy is that one country and multiple ideologies, multiple approaches, but it has not changed the fact that the superstructure is communism. And so you have TikTok, you have WeChat, you have Weibo, you have Techno, you have whatever you call them, Lucent, all of them, you have Tencent, the Alibaba thing. These companies belong to the Chinese government. And so the problem Trump had with this in his first time was that, look, they were using these things to gather data about America, about Americans, and all of that. And this was the problem, that this is state-run company, technological company. They are not privately run companies, that they are state-run companies. And so the only way you can allow, that the Americans would allow you to continue here is that we need proof that, one, this is privately run, this is, individual businesses, and if they are not, what is the assurance that there is no security breach with these things? And that's what America wants to do, because it's the same thing the Chinese will do if you are going to China. It's the same thing most countries that are deliberate will do.
When you talk about deliberate, because I'm just thinking about some other countries where these apps just filter in, you just find, oh, I'm on TikTok, I've got this new TikTok video. There are really no regulations.
But you forget that Nigeria did that with Twitter.
With Twitter. But
because they came in and we allowed all of those things. Then when the problem came, then we realized that these were the things we were supposed to do. This is what every responsible country will do, every responsible government will do to protect the country's territory, to protect the people from what we call subversions, and all of that, from a threat to national security and all of that. And so what the Americans are demanding is, and what Donald Trump wants to do now, okay, we've benefited from this, but the rules must be followed. And these rules will be, I'll give you a 90-day moratorium where you can then sit down and discuss about the modalities of ownership, where the Chinese government will have to divest, and then maybe even if they are not divesting in its entirety, we have a situation where maybe 50% or a controlling share is domiciled in the United States of America, which is a normal thing. Even if you are doing privatization, you are bringing foreign direct investment, your companies are registered in partnership with the locals of that place. Now, those things have effect. for security reasons, depending on the sector of the economy in which you are coming in, and then for the prevention of capital flight. This also has economic benefits and all of that. So the Americans want to feel safe. Donald Trump feels, okay, we are not going to ban, I don't want to ban TikTok if we can reach this agreement. And there will be no need to ban TikTok if that agreement could be reached. And I'm sure that the Joe Biden administration wouldn't have also moved for the banning of TikTok if those agreements could be met. I mean, it's going to be more like a win-win for everybody. The Chinese will then sit down with them. The Americans will sit down. They will reach an agreement, which is essentially what Trump tries to do. Every time he says the things he says, oh, we are going to take over the Suez Canal, we want to take over Greenland, he forces you into a negotiation. That's I mean, it's, all right, it's the threat.
Okay, you know, because, you know, Solomon, on Sunday, you know, social media was really a buzz where people complained, oh, I woke up today, I just realized I couldn't do anything on TikTok, only to realize, oh yes, you know, I have been, you know, like it's been suspended temporarily in the United States. But here we are, so that's some hopeful. So if you're in the US and you're a TikTok user, some good news coming your way because Donald Trump has something.
But incidentally, the alternative app that people choose was also Chinese.
That is it. So they've taken over the technological space. Who will be the competitors now?
and so this is part of the America First thing.
Okay.
That America has exported so much of this technological know-how to China especially. And so it's hurting American companies.
When you talk about export, how do they move it there? You mean, okay, the Chinese going to the US to...
No. So this is what it is. So every time you hear technological transfer, nobody willingly gives you technology. Because once they give you that technology, what happens here is that it erodes their comparative advantage. And so what the Americans did, which Americans had the freedom to do that anyway, was that there was cheap labor, there was cheap costs in China. Most American companies moved away from America and went to set up factories in China. China created an environment that allowed these foreign companies, these technological companies, to come to China to get free labor, to get free costs, you know, cheaper costs, cheaper labor, and all of that. And they came there to set up their stuff, and then they were able to produce cheaper things, you know, and then export it around the world. And so that's what grew China basically, you know, and that's how the Chinese also became, you know, very powerful in all of these things. And then the competition has gotten so strong that in America, every time you go America, you enter into a shop in America, you want to buy a car, it's a Chinese car, you want to buy this, it's China, and there's hardly made in America anymore. And Trump is saying, no, we can't continue like this because it's against the American interest. It means the Americans are not benefiting. And he did a great deal of that between 2016 and 2020. There was so much revival of American industries. Some of the companies returned home. There was stimulation, you know, of the economy for that 4 years until, you know, Biden came again, and it seems they lost focus again. And now he has not even assumed the mantle of leadership. And what's happening? You could see the markets reacting. You could see the corporate world also reacting to that. You could see even on the diplomatic scene, you can see some of the things happening, you know, and all of that.
Yeah, but when you talk about Biden, for instance, losing focus, there are those who will tell you that's not what